Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
So just when you thought that you're not making any progress in your New Year's resolution, just when you thought that, I want to lose weight, I want to look better, and I'm not really sure what to do, comes along the Eatwellguru. She's right here. Maryam, Dadkhah, how are you today?
Good. How are you, Steve? Nice to meet you again. Nice to see you again.
You too. You are a doctor. You're a registered dietitian. So many great credentials in terms of helping people with their diet and their relationships with food. I will tell you, I just had lunch. We're going to analyze my lunch shortly. I don't know if I want to hear what you have to say about that, but I do. Why don't we do this? Why don't we start off doing the triple F? We call it food, fad, or fact. I'll throw you a couple of things, and then you tell me whether it's a legit food, if it's a fad, or if it's a fact.
Love that idea. Let's do it.
Okay. I have a trainer who tells me after you work out, protein. Gotta have protein. Protein after your workout. Is that a fact, a fad, a food?
So it depends on the type of the workout. If your workout is mostly strength training, meaning muscle building, meaning weightlifting,
okay,
yes, you do need some protein and some carbs, not just protein. What I recommend most of the times to my patients is if they can plan their main meals within 15 to 60 minutes right after workout, which is the weightlifting, you can help with recovery, building new muscles, and you can help restore your carb storage. So it can help with recovery and better workout performance.
Very interesting. So what you're saying, let's say you work out first thing in the morning. Would you say not having your breakfast and doing the workout and then have your breakfast after that, or have a quick snack or breakfast?
Right. So most of the workouts, during the workout, what you need, carbs. Doesn't matter if it's a cardio or weightlifting, strength training.
Yep.
So if you have like a piece of fruit before your workout, that's probably is going to take you through the workout, depending on your workout duration and intensity.
Sure.
Then afterwards, you can have your full breakfast.
Oh, interesting. So yeah, I just learned something there. I always wondered about that and always wondered, and I'll eat breakfast, then I'll work out. But then because my trainer said protein, so then I'll just grab a protein shake. But I don't know if I really needed to do that.
Right. Another thing that you have to pay attention is I said strength training. With the cardio, the only thing that we use is carbs. And not that much of muscle building happens after cardio. So basically, if you can do the same thing. Many times if people work out with a full stomach, it can cause digestive issues. So again, you can have your carbs beforehand, your piece of fruit, and then have a breakfast. And even if your breakfast doesn't have a protein, with the cardio, we don't care that much about the protein right afterwards.
Okay, food, fat, or fact, you can lose weight just by working out.
That's almost impossible. Or it's very disappointing to so many people. You probably hear it from people that, oh, I work out this much, the weight doesn't change, go up. Here's how it is. They've actually done studies. They put people on controlled workout regimen for 6 months to see if they're going to lose weight. And they controlled their diet. They didn't give them a calorie deficit diet, but they control how much they're eating. So they're not basically gaining weight as a result of it. It's a maintenance diet. They saw they lost only 2 pounds over the course of 6 months.
Wow.
And this is a controlled study. So in real life, people think that if they go to these CrossFit and Orange Theory once or twice a week, and then they become hungry and they eat more, and they think that they work out can burn extra calories, and it doesn't happen. So most of the time, physical activity alone, exercise alone, cannot help to lose weight. We need to combine it with a weight loss diet. And another thing about physical activity, you might burn this much calorie at the beginning, but your body is great adjusting itself with how much calorie it burns. So many of the gadgets and your iWatch and your cell phone and the machines tell you, oh, you burn this much calorie, and people get really excited and they keep adding it to their calorie intake. Doesn't happen. You gain weight as a result of that because body learns to adjust its calorie burning through the exercise. And then you can tell that when you start an exercise, at the beginning it's hard. Over time, it becomes easier and easier. So you need to keep adding the duration and intensity. And as human beings, there is a limit of how much more we can do or how more intense we can do. So many times we basically stop burning as much calorie as we used to.
So I had to ask this question, and I'm sure a lot of people think this as well. Let's say you're on the treadmill, you're doing some cardio, and it's telling you how many calories you're burning. So let's say, for argument's sake, you burn 200 calories. Well, breakfast was about 200 calories. I had, whatever. Did I pretty much wipe out my calories at that up to that point? Does that make sense? Like, did the calories not exist now because I just burned them off and now it's almost like a clean slate, or it doesn't work that way?
So let me give you an example. It's yes, many of the machines and gadgets give you a calorie estimation. It's not accurate.
Okay.
It's almost impossible to measure calories that way. The best way we have to measure calorie burning through an exercise is either we put you on these bikes that we measure gas exchange, so your CO2 and oxygen exchange, or these chambers that they do the same thing. They measure the gas exchange and then they put you on a treadmill or a workout machine. Otherwise, these other machines is a very rough estimate. We also have other issues. Examples are, as we get older, we burn less calorie for the same amount of exercise.
Well, that's just great.
So I'm just saying that it's complicated. It's very hard to know exactly how much calorie you're burning. And then relying on these tools and gadgets and machines, it's not accurate.
But if you had, let's say it was accurate. You did 200 calories on whatever machine, and you ingested 200 calories before you even began. Did you burn off all the calories that you ate? Is it fair enough? Like if we were, apples to apples, would it make sense? Or it
does. Still we do have that calorie equation, that calorie in, calorie out.
Okay.
If you don't, but the best indicator of if you're doing a good job with your calorie balance is your weight. If you see that you maintain your weight, that means that the calorie that you're consuming balances that your calorie burning, which some of it is exercise, most of it is your metabolism. And I can tell you why some of it is exercise. It's not a big deal. But if you see either you lose the weight or you gain the weight, that means that the calorie that you're burning cannot compensate for the calorie that you're eating.
Got it.
Or you might create some sort of deficit in the case of people that they don't want to lose weight. So did I answer your question, Steve?
Yeah, absolutely. What calorie in, calorie out. So I got that. So yeah, and I totally agree. It's hard to measure, looking at the machine if it says 200 calories.
Right. So in the case that you work out and you don't see the weight is going down, means that your working out is not enough for the amount of food that you're eating.
Got it. Not a good problem to have, but
I totally agree.
We have one more here. Food, fat, or fact. Macro diets work.
So that's a great question. And most of these apps, especially the calorie recording apps, pushing people for more protein and more protein and more protein. They've done really great studies. Some of the giant in the field of nutrition and diet and weight loss came together and did this study in 2009 that was published in New England Journal of Medicine. And they put people with weight issues on 4 different types of diet with different macros. The calorie deficit was similar across these four groups of people with different fat and protein and carbs. They basically played with these three macronutrients. They measured them at different stages for their weight and compliance. And after 2 years, what they've seen is they lost the same exact weight. Doesn't matter what macros they were consuming. That's one way to look at it. Basically, macros does not make any difference of how people lose the weight, as long as you create some reduction in your calorie intake. The other one that I also want to talk about is the guidelines that we have. Many guidelines that we have is based on average intake in the population, not necessarily based on the needs and requirements. If you remember from last time, I said, let's say the requirement is about 40 grams of protein. For athletes is 60, and then the average intake is 100. It's way above the basically what is the requirements is. But two big guidelines that we have. One is from Institute of Medicine. Another one is from American Heart Association and Obesity Society. They give a range of these macros. So let's say it varies between 35, 65 for Obesity Society, 45 to 65 for Institute of Medicine. Protein from Institute of Medicine, 10 to 35%, fat 20 to 35. And the other one, the American Heart Association, Obesity Society, 20 to 40% from fat, 35 to 65 for carbs. So or 15 to 25 for protein. What I'm trying to tell you is there's no magic number. And more protein doesn't mean a healthier, a better diet. That's what they're trying to do. Or, and then let's say Mediterranean diet is one of the most evidence-based, healthier ones for so many cases. You see the fat goes up to 42%, which is on a higher side compared to the guidelines that we have. Or World Health Organization, when it looks at the population of the world, carbs can go up to 80%. So it's not necessarily one better than other. It depends on what we want to do. But for most part, for most of the healthy people, we don't have a magic macro recommendation. It's a range. And many times it depends on what you prefer, where you're coming from, so many other factors.
And everybody's different too. We are
Exactly.
talking to the Eat Well Guru, eatwellguru.com. That's Dr. Maryam Dadkhah. Let's tell everybody, before we get to my lunch, as we analyze this, how you can help people. They can reach out to you. You can help them virtually set up diet plans and really just change their way of eating to be healthier and to look and feel better.
Yes, I do accommodate, given the pandemics, accommodate virtual visits, telehealth. I try to make it as user-friendly as possible. Sometimes people say, what is the difference? Actually, the difference is I'm in person, I walk more around, I might be more animated, whereas on telehealth, I'm basically on the screen. But I basically do exactly the same thing, no difference. And I take the majority of insurance in the area. Sometimes out of area insurances also cover for the visits. So yeah, I'm trying to accommodate and listen to people and see where they're coming from, what is their expectation, and then go for that.
That's a really good point. I forget about insurance is accepted for a dietitian where applicable. So you have nothing to lose. Just reach out to, Maryam and see if we can change your life. We're going to take a look at my lunch. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Bring it, Steve.
This came from the refrigerator case at the gym. As I'm walking out, I'm like, I'm going to be busy today. I'm not going to have time to get something. I just grabbed petite filet with mashed potatoes. Now, it's no particular type of meal. It's not like a keto diet or anything like that. Just grab it. I was actually kind of surprised. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. So here we go. And let's dissect this and then talk about what it should be, or, the ranges where we should be in. So calories for lunch, 430 calories. Okay. Total fat, 13 grams, which kind of blew me away. There's meat in there. I thought it would be more. Cholesterol, 120 milligrams. Sodium, 110. Way lower than I expected. So, check that box there. Total carbs 33, and protein is 44 grams. So overall, based on that, and by the way, what's in here? Steak, mashed potato, vegetables, and just some seasoning.
So
Did I waste $9? Is what I'm saying.
it depends on what we're looking for.
Okay.
So let me tell you, so it depends on what we compare it to. So if we compare it to like a Mediterranean diet, that is one of the healthiest one that we have.
I'm comparing this to McDonald's, and I think I.
Yeah, if you compare it to McDonald's, you're doing much better.
Okay.
So if you can compare it to Mediterranean, or we have a guideline called Healthy Plate. Have you ever seen the Healthy Plate? Do you know what it means, the concept?
No.
Okay, so the Healthy Plate is this 9-inch plate that we use it for ease of use, and then it's a user-friendly. Almost half of it is coming from non-starchy vegetable. A quarter of it is coming from your carb choices, and the last quarter of it is coming from the protein. Visually, when you had your lunch, if you have that in mind, how it is comparable?
Okay. So if I were to take this and put it on a plate, I guess it would be, well, it would be, quarters, because it would be the mashed potato, that's the starch. Then we have the vegetable, another quarter. And the meat's only going to take up a quarter. There's actually a quarter missing, so I should be filling that quarter up with something else. I guess I would say vegetables.
So it had green beans in it, or it didn't have green beans in it?
Has green beans, yeah.
Okay, so here's my thought based on what you told me and the protein content of it. So I would argue that the protein content is probably more than a quarter of a plate. It was probably double the deck of carbs, if I'm right. Is that a true statement, Steve?
Yeah, I would actually say there was more meat in there than I thought there would be.
Yeah. Okay. So it would be about 6-ounce steak, I assume.
Yeah, and I would actually say maybe it was a little bit bigger, because they say it's supposed to be like about that size. I guess it was in that territory then. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I would think that is probably more meat. So almost half of the plate was the protein.
Okay.
The starch, yes, you can compare your mashed potato to a fist. And then I would say the half a plate as green beans, it looks like that it was not as much as green beans that we were expecting. So if I want to compare it to the Healthy Plate, that is easier way to go, is I would say probably it needed more vegetables and less meat.
Gotcha. And in terms of protein, I don't know if this is right, but I've heard that your body can't in 2 hours even do anything with more than like 20 something grams of protein. So I just had 44. Would you say it's kind of a waste having all that protein? What are you going to do with it?
So that's true. So that's the protein for your whole day, right? So you don't need protein for your breakfast. You don't need protein for your dinner.
Trust me, I'll be eating dinner. Don't worry about that.
Right, but I'm just saying that, remember what I told you, this is the protein that is needed and required for the body. But any other protein that you're getting throughout the day is going to basically be turned into fuel or being stored. So beyond that, we cannot do anything. And then there's another story about the red meat and its health effect that also is another discussion whenever you're ready to talk about it.
It's really good. Let's just move on from there.
Okay, sounds good.
But I gotcha on the red meat. We have instant feedback. This is from Donna, who checks California. And she says, I take vitamins. Do you feel that that's a good idea?
So it depends. For some of the vitamins, yes, we do need them depending on circumstances. So let me tell you this. So vitamin D, for example, you're in New York.
Correct.
I'm in Virginia. There is a line between California to Pennsylvania, and everyone above this line, because we're not getting enough sun, especially during winter months or overcast days, we do need to take vitamin D supplements. We get the vitamin D from the sun, from exposure to the skin, but there is problems with the skin cancer too.
Yep.
So, and the food don't provide us enough vitamin D. So vitamin D deficiency is very widespread. Pretty much everyone that go to doctors and check for their vitamin D,
Wow.
they're gonna have deficiency unless it's they're taking supplements.
Can I ask you,
So,
and
sure.
we don't have a ton of time, but I really want to know, based on what you just said, what are some of the signs of somebody going through vitamin D deficiency?
So unless you're in a really bad situation with vitamin D, we might not have we might not have those symptoms that we're looking for.
Okay.
But most of the times they can find it through the indicators in the blood to tell someone has vitamin D deficiency.
So I guess it would be safe to say if you have a vitamin D deficiency, it's going to be pretty major if it's really that bad, and you would know you would have multiple different types of symptoms.
Right. So let's say I saw kids that they might have a calcium problems because of the vitamin D deficiency. But these are infants, it's very basically severe cases. But in general, in adults, you might not see symptoms unless they check it with the blood. So vitamin D supplements is required. If you're going through a very extreme diet and you're eliminating so many foods, then you probably need to take multivitamin supplements to basically feed all your needs. At times we might benefit from fish oil supplements if we are not having any fish or seafood in our diet. So it depends on the cases. For some people, or let's say some people that they might have a high intake of alcohol or smoking, they might have deficiency depending on their conditions, or they might take a medication that basically interact with some vitamins, or they might have vegan. So in vegan case, we hardly have any vitamin B12 in their diet. If they don't plan their diet well, calcium and iron could be on other issues. So in these cases, supplements are our only choice to compensate for those malnutrition cases.
So Dr. Dadkhah, let me ask you, in terms of vitamin C, I've always heard 1,000 milligrams is okay, sometimes 2,000. What would be an okay dosage?
So if you have fresh fruits and vegetables in your diet on a daily basis, you don't need to take vitamin C. If you're taking them to prevent cold and flu and things like that, the results are contradictory. Some results say, hey, they might help, they might shorten this cold, they might prevent. We don't have a solid evidence that if people are taking vitamin C on a daily basis and these high doses of 1,500, it would make enough difference in their cold and flu. So that's not actually one of the supplements I recommend to patients unless I have good enough reasons to basically recommend that to people to take it.
Oh, fair enough, because we've always heard, over the years that, yeah, vitamin C, take it. It's going to ward off colds, but maybe not so much the case. And, if you have the right kind of diet, then you don't need it. Let's tell everybody what you can do for them. If they go to your website, eatwellguru.com, they're going to find you there. They're going to find a lot of great information, and they can book a consult, right?
They can. I do have resource pages that they can look up many websites and information that they could do. I have some blogs. These talks are going to continue for a while, so they can follow the talks on your podcast. I'm also posting them on my YouTube so they can listen to it, and they have some good learning points when I'm talking about different subjects. Also, they can try to email me if they're interested to have a discussion with me. They can call me, leave me a message. They can also text me on the same phone number that they call me. And I will call them back. I set up an appointment, and then we go from there.
Terrific. It's always great talking to you, Maryam, and love the information. And, food is life. It's so important. So you should be eating correctly. And sometimes you need some guidance. I think we all need guidance. I'm walking into the gym, picking this up. I have no idea what I'm buying. I think it's okay. And that's where you come in.
Right, exactly.
I appreciate it. Eatwellguru.com. Go there, get the information, and connect with Dr. Maryam Dadkhah. It's great having you on again.
Nice talking to you, Steve.
You too. Eat well, and we'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.